My sister took my fiancé and invited me to their wedding. What I did shocked everyone. Welcome back with a new real shock story. Before we start, comment and tell me which city you're watching from. At the end, don't forget to subscribe and rate it from 0 to 10. Let's enjoy the story, everyone.
I still remember the night it all started to change. It wasn't dramatic at first. No shouting, no obvious signs. It was just quiet. But not the kind of quiet that feels peaceful. The kind of quiet that presses in, makes your chest tight without you knowing why. I was sitting in my small apartment, coffee cooling on the table beside me, staring out the window. My phone buzzed once. I didn't check it right away. I just sat there thinking about how my life felt perfect. How I thought I had everything figured out. My fiancé, Daniel, was my safe place. We had been together for years, and I truly believed we were building something real, something lasting. And then there was my sister, Mia. She had always been my person. We grew up together, shared everything, laughter, secrets, dreams. I trusted her completely. I thought she was my family forever. That night, I got home from work. Everything seemed normal. I laughed with Daniel about some silly thing from earlier that day. Mia was there, sitting on the couch, sipping wine and scrolling on her phone. I didn't think twice about it. I never suspected anything could be wrong. But looking back, there were signs. Small ones I ignored. Whispered conversations. Glances I couldn't explain. Moments when they would lock eyes for longer than usual. I brushed it off. I wanted to believe everything was fine. But deep down, something gnawed at me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I went to bed that night thinking it was just stress, just paranoia. I was wrong. Weeks passed, and the feeling only grew. It was subtle at first, Daniel pulling away, Mia getting defensive over small things. But then it became something I couldn't ignore. One evening, I came home early from work, and the sound of laughter echoed from our living room. I paused, my heart beating a little faster. I didn't want to intrude, but something pulled me toward the door. When I peeked inside, they didn't notice me at first. Daniel was sitting close to Mia, their shoulders touching. I could see it, the way she smiled at him, the way he looked at her. That look wasn't mine. It was something else. Something dangerous. I froze. My mind went blank. I didn't want to believe what I saw, but part of me knew. I left quietly, my stomach twisting into knots. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying what I had seen over and over in my head. I told myself I was imagining things, that maybe it meant nothing. But deep down, I knew better. Then came the day I found proof. I don't even remember how I stumbled on it. It was like fate was pushing me towards something I didn't want to face. A message, a photo, a text between them that made my chest ache so badly I thought I would faint. The words didn't leave room for doubt. Daniel and Mia, they had been hiding something. Something real. Something wrong. My hands shook. My breath caught. I wanted to cry, to scream, to vanish. But instead, I stayed quiet. I told myself I needed to watch. I needed to understand how deep this went before confronting them. I became quiet. I became cautious. Every dinner, every family gathering, every moment they spent together became a puzzle. I watched piece by piece. The more I watched, the heavier it became. My heart ached not just for myself, but for the betrayal of trust. This wasn't just about love. It was about family. And they had stolen it from me. Then came the letter. The one thing I never expected. A small envelope slid under my door with my name on it. Inside was an invitation. Their wedding. Daniel and Mia, my sister, my fiancé. My world stopped. My hands froze around the paper. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't move. I wanted to rip it apart, burn it, pretend it never existed. But instead, I held it like a knife against my chest. I needed to know. I needed to see it. That night, I sat alone, staring at the card. My mind raced. What would I do? Could I face them? Could I hold myself together? I didn't know, but one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same. And that was the moment I realized. I was standing on the edge of something I could never walk away from. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept staring at the invitation on my nightstand, turning it over in my hands as if it might whisper the answer to the question burning in my chest. Why? Why would they do this? Why would my sister take the man I loved and then invite me to watch it? The next days were a blur. I went through work in a daze, replaying that image over and over, the way they looked at each other, smiling like they'd won something at my expense. I tried to speak to Daniel, but every time I opened my mouth, the words caught in my throat. I tried to speak to Mia, but she avoided my eyes. And every time I saw them together, it felt like my world cracked a little more. The closer the wedding date got, the heavier the air became. Every conversation turned into a battle I didn't want to fight. Friends whispered, families took sides without even knowing the truth. My heart felt like it was carrying a weight that was too much for me to bear alone. One evening, I found myself outside their home. I don't know why I went there. Maybe to see them together again, to confirm the betrayal I already knew was true. I stood in the shadows, watching through the window. They were laughing quietly, holding hands. The sight was like a cold knife in my chest. I felt rage bubbling up, but also something worse. Emptiness. I wanted to scream. I wanted to knock on the door and demand answers. But instead, I turned away. I walked home with tears blurring my vision, telling myself I needed a plan, a way to face them without collapsing. The night before the wedding, I couldn't hold myself together. I sat in my room, staring at the invitation again. The edges were worn from being handled too much. I thought about walking away. I thought about burning it, erasing this pain from my life. But something inside me told me I had to go. Not for them, not for Daniel, not even for Mia, but for me. I needed to see the truth for myself. The morning of the wedding, I dressed quietly. My hands were trembling, not from cold, but from the storm inside me. Every movement felt heavy, like carrying lead. I told myself this would be the last time I let them control me. That day, I wasn't going to be silent anymore. When I arrived at the hall, the air felt different. It wasn't just a wedding. It was a scene that had been scripted without my consent. Guests were arriving in bright dresses and suits, smiling. But I noticed the way some of them looked at me. Curiosity, sympathy, even pity. My chest tightened. I swallowed hard, walking in with my head held as high as I could. From the moment I stepped inside, the world felt unreal. The music swelled, the air smelled of roses and perfume, but all I could see was Mia in her white dress and Daniel standing beside her. They looked happy, too happy. And I felt something in me break, something I couldn't name. I found a seat at the edge of the hall, watching silently as the ceremony began. My heart pounded in my chest with every word spoken. Every vow they exchanged felt like a betrayal carved in slow motion. I wanted to stand up and scream, to tell everyone this was wrong. But I stayed still. I wanted to understand. I wanted them to see me. I wanted them to see the pain in my eyes. As the ceremony went on, I noticed something. My sister glanced at me once, just once, and in that glance I saw everything: guilt, shame, defiance, and in that moment, I knew there was no turning back. The rest of the ceremony passed in a blur. The vows, the rings, the cheers. It all felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. I sat there quietly, my mind screaming with the question I couldn't answer. How had it come to this? When it was over, applause filled the hall. They kissed, the crowd cheered, but I didn't clap. I just stood up, clutching the invitation in my hand like it was proof of everything I had lost. And without a word, I walked out. Outside, the night air hit me hard. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I felt broken. But somewhere deep inside, I knew this was not the end. Because whatever happened next, whether I chose to fight or to let go, it would change me forever. I didn't go home that night. I wandered the streets for hours, my heels clicking against the pavement, the cold air burning my skin. Every step felt heavy, like I was dragging my own heart behind me. My mind kept replaying the ceremony, Mia smiling at Daniel, their hands intertwined, the way the world clapped for them while mine crumbled. I finally found myself in a small park, sitting on a bench under a dim streetlight. My hands shook as I clutched the wedding invitation. My chest ached, not just from heartbreak, but from something deeper, something I couldn't name. Was it betrayal? Rage? Or the hollow sense of being erased from my own life? I couldn't stop thinking about the months before. How Daniel and I had been so sure we had a future. How we'd planned our life together. Dreams we shared, late-night talks, laughter that felt endless. And then, how it all had been taken from me. Not by chance, not by fate, but by my own sister. The thought hit me again and again. Mia knew how I felt. She knew Daniel was mine. But she did it anyway. And worse, she invited me to watch. It wasn't just a wedding. It was a spectacle of my pain. That night, I realized I had a choice. I could let this destroy me, let it consume me quietly. Or I could face them, not with tears, not with silence, but with the truth. The next morning, I woke up with a strange clarity. I wasn't going to avoid this any longer. I had to confront them, not in anger, but so I could understand why. I told myself I'd go to Mia after the ceremony. I'd ask her why. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just about answers anymore. It was about closure. When I returned to the hall the next day, the air was thick with celebration. Guests laughed, glasses clinked, music played softly in the background. But I felt nothing but tension coiling inside me. I kept my distance, watching them through the crowd. They were radiant together, so sure, so certain, and every smile they shared felt like a wound opening inside me. I walked closer, my heart hammering. I needed to speak to her. But before I could, Mia caught my eye again. There was something different in her look this time. Hesitation, maybe guilt. I wasn't sure, but I knew I had to move forward. Then something happened that stopped me cold. Daniel turned and looked straight at me. His smile faltered. His eyes searched mine like he was expecting me to say something. My breath caught. Everything slowed down. The music, the voices, the laughter. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing on me. My hands trembled. My throat felt dry. And yet I didn't speak. Instead, I watched as he turned back to Mia, whispering something to her. They laughed softly, but the laughter sounded hollow to me. That's when I realized This wasn't just their wedding anymore. This was my moment. The moment I would decide whether to break or whether to stand and demand my truth be heard. I stepped forward. My legs felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds, but I couldn't stop. Every eye in the room turned toward me. I could hear the murmur, the quick gasp of surprise. Mia froze, her hand tightening on Daniel's arm. Daniel's eyes widened. And then I spoke. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried through the air, sharp and trembling. Why? There was silence. Everyone turned to look at me. My chest felt like it would burst. Why, Mia? I repeated. Why would you take him? Why would you invite me to? Watch this. This humiliation. Mia's face went pale. Daniel's jaw tightened. No one spoke. I could feel their eyes on me, burning me alive. But I couldn't stop. The words spilled out. My pain, my anger, the months of silent suffering I'd buried deep inside. Mia's voice finally broke the silence. Alec, But I cut her off. No. I want to hear why. I need to understand. Did you even care that you destroyed me? The room felt heavy. My voice echoed in the air, and I could see the tension stretching across every face. I looked at Daniel. His eyes were full of regret, confusion, something unspoken. And Mia. Mia looked like she might cry, but she stayed silent. That's when I realized I didn't need the answer. What I needed was to let it out, to take back my voice. And for the first time since this began, I felt a strange release. But the moment didn't end quietly. Mia stepped toward me, her voice trembling. Alec, this isn't what it looks like. I shook my head. It's exactly what it looks like. You don't get to rewrite this. Not for me. And then, without another word, I walked away. The hall was still buzzing behind me, but I didn't look back. I stepped out into the cold night, the sound of my own heartbeat loud in my ears. And somewhere deep inside me, I knew something had changed. Whatever happened next, whether I healed or broke completely, this was the moment I stopped hiding. This was the moment I reclaimed myself. I stepped out into the cold night, but my legs didn't slow. The air was sharp against my skin, and my chest was tight, like something inside me was about to break. My heels echoed against the empty sidewalk, each step a drumbeat of rage, pain, and disbelief. I didn't even know where I was going, only that I had to keep moving. Somewhere behind me, muffled laughter and music from the wedding hall drifted into the night. It felt unreal, like I was watching someone else's life instead of my own unravel. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Mia. We need to talk. I didn't open it. I couldn't. Not now. I fought and myself by the river, staring at the dark water shimmering under the pale moonlight. My reflection wavered in the ripples, but it wasn't my face I saw. It was confusion, betrayal, 1,000 moments of shared laughter with Daniel flashing before me, now stained with something I could never erase. I collapsed onto a bench, my hands gripping my knees. My mind was a storm, every word I'd screamed in the hall replaying over and over. But beneath the fury, there was something heavier. Heartbreak. Because no matter how much I hated them right now, part of me still ached for the life I thought I had with Daniel. Hours passed. I stayed there until the cold seeped through my coat. And then, I made a choice. I couldn't run from this anymore. I had to face them. Mia, Daniel, and my own shattered reality. The next morning, I returned to the hall. The celebration was still ongoing, though it felt quieter somehow, as if the air itself had been weighed down. I walked in slowly, each step feeling like walking through a storm of eyes and whispers. Everyone was watching me again. Some looked curious, some judgmental, some sympathetic, but no one spoke. Mia was sitting at the table, her makeup smudged, her smile gone. Daniel was beside her, staring at his glass. When he saw me, his eyes flickered, not with joy, but with guilt. I could feel it. I stepped forward, my voice steady but heavy. "We need to end this." They looked up at me. Mia's lips parted like she wanted to speak, but no sound came out. Daniel's hand tightened on the tablecloth. I didn't give them a chance. "This was never just about you two," I said. "This is about trust. It's about love. And it's about respect. You took something from me that can't be replaced." My voice cracked. "I don't know how you could do this to me. To us." Daniel finally spoke, quietly. "Alec, I'm sorry." But his words felt hollow. They couldn't fix the betrayal. They couldn't rewind the months of pain, of watching someone I loved turn away from me for her. Mia stood up then, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I didn't want this to happen like this. I thought I could handle it differently." I shook my head, stepping closer to them. "You didn't handle it at all. You destroyed it. You destroyed me." For a moment, silence filled the room. My heart pounded so hard, I thought they could hear it. Then Mia whispered, barely audible, "Alec, can we talk later?" I looked at her for a long moment, the anger and hurt inside me colliding with something softer. Grief. "There's nothing left to talk about," I said finally. And just like that, I turned and walked out. The doors closed behind me, and a wave of relief and pain hit me at once. It was over. But nothing about it felt clean or easy. My chest ached. My mind spun with questions I knew might never be answered. Outside, the air felt sharp and cold. I could hear laughter and music drifting out from inside, but I walked away without looking back. My heart felt like it was breaking, but there was also something else, a strange, fragile sense of freedom. I realized then that this was the turning point. I wasn't going to disappear quietly anymore. I wasn't going to let them erase me. Something inside me shifted that night. I had faced the worst of it, and now I had to find a way forward. Because this wasn't just a wedding. This wasn't just betrayal. This was my life, my pain, my truth, and I was done hiding it. I walked away from the hall, but my feet felt heavy, like I was dragging every broken piece of myself with each step. The streets were quiet now. The city felt different, not because it had changed, but because I had. I wasn't the same Alec who had walked into that wedding. That girl had been stripped away, replaced by someone who knew exactly what betrayal felt like and how deeply it cut. I found myself on a small park bench, the night air colder than I expected. My coat felt thin against the chill, but I didn't move to fix it. I just sat there, letting the silence wrap around me. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Another message from Mia. "Please, Alec, just talk." I stared at it for a long moment, my fingers trembling, but I didn't reply. I couldn't. This wasn't just about Mia. It was about Daniel. It was about the years we'd built, the trust that had been shattered in a heartbeat. And it was about me, who I was, and who I had to become. Now that that trust was gone, I thought about the wedding hall, the music, the laughter, the way everyone acted like nothing had happened. But I knew it wasn't nothing. For me, it was everything. It was the moment I learned that love could turn cold, that promises could vanish overnight, and that some wounds never fully heal. As I sat there under the faint glow of a street lamp, I realized something important. This was no longer just my pain. It was a story that could belong to anyone. Betrayal doesn't just happen in a single life. It happens everywhere, in different forms. It's in every friendship broken, every trust betrayed, every time someone chooses their own comfort over another's heart. That realization made the hurt sharper, but it also made me stronger. I had survived something no one should have to survive. I had faced a wound so deep that I thought I'd drown in it. And yet, I was still here, breathing, moving forward. The truth is, I'm not sure where this journey ends for me. Maybe I'll never fully forgive Mia or Daniel. Maybe I'll always carry a part of this pain. But what I do know is this: I won't let it define me forever. Betrayal tried to break me, but it taught me something more powerful. I'm stronger than I ever knew. I learned that even when the world turns against you, even when those you love most turn away, there is a way to stand up again. And that strength is mine. Tonight, I'm not just walking away from a wedding. I'm walking toward a new chapter. A chapter where I own my story, where I own my pain, and where I decide my own worth. I look up at the sky, the stars faint but shining, and I wonder how many of us are living in silence after betrayal. How many hearts are breaking quietly while the world carries on as if nothing happened? And maybe the real question isn't how to heal from betrayal, but how to stand up and say, enough. Because this story isn't just mine anymore. It belongs to everyone who has ever been hurt and left wondering if they mattered. And I want them to know they do matter, always. I stand, brushing the dust from my coat. My phone stays in my pocket. I don't need another message. I know the truth now. The pain will fade eventually. The scars will remain. But so will the lesson. Betrayal doesn't end with one moment. It ends when you decide to reclaim yourself. And tonight, I'm reclaiming me.